Hi, Capricorn. Welcome to part 2. All right. And if midweek you're like, mid-month, you're like, I wish I had a reading. Now we're doing mid-month readings on Patreon. Woo woo. All right. What is that? No. Be quiet. Okay, we're going to smoke a little. We're going to talk a little. And we're going to start with Venus, Mercury, and the Sun. When they move towards the end of the month into Sagittarius, Cap rising, that puts it in your 12th house. If you try to push and get anything done or accomplish anything at that time, it just becomes this exercise. It becomes this exercise in disappointment. Everything you try to push or do becomes another example you can use against yourself of how you're not good enough. And it's not the nature of your attempts. It's not that you're dreaming too big. It's none of the things that you're going to think up. It's not that you're inadequate at all. It is simply that this is a time to pull back. So this intrinsic forward push that you have, it's just, it works against you every time you try to use it. From mid-November until far into Aquarius season. So, what can you do with that time since you can't push forward? Because what a juxtaposition, huh? At the beginning of the month, you're seeing all these truths and you want to do something about it, right? You're being pretty intractable with people. You're not suffering any bullshit. So, everyone's also expecting you to do something about it. And then there's opportunities here to make money, and you have all these opportunities kind of courting you. So you have decisions to make. And if you take that, and instead of doing that, you just get lost in the 12th house chatter. The mental chatter, the isolating chatter. All those decisions that really need to be made will not be made. And the month kind of turns into this weird depressive blur where you felt fine and then all of a sudden it feels like you fell off a cliff or something. Like, what happened? I was doing fine, and then around, I don't know, like 2 weeks into November, I just didn't feel right, because there are decisions that need to be made with a clear head in the first 2 weeks of November, starting from the eclipse until about the 23rd of November. Those decisions have to be made before this push into Sagittarius where everything gets confusing. Nothing is the way that it seems. You can't push forward anymore. You can't make those decisions that you need to make. So that's where the timing in astrology becomes so important. You have a window right now of, 12 days where you can affect real change. Not even necessarily because the decisions you're making are that important. It's just stuff that needs to get out of the way before everything moves into Sagittarius. Because it'll be far too overwhelming. You won't be able to decide. You won't be able to move forward. And then the stagnation will really start to get to you. It's difficult enough without having a bunch of decisions hanging over your head that you should have taken care of but haven't. No, that's a kind of hell that I don't think that Capricorns honestly can handle. So, if you're making the right decisions of who to keep around you, who to cut off, if you're integrating all these gems, okay, into your life where you're just not, like, the delusions are gone. You see everything how it actually is. You're not entertaining the past. You're not entertaining any special treatment for any special person. You're seeing everybody the same. You're seeing everybody for who they are. You're seeing everybody for whether or not they're beneficial to you. You're taking that information, you're integrating it, you're not suffering because of it, you're not, like crushed under the weight of these realizations. You're just taking it in stride and moving forward. You're integrating what you learn. Okay, this is what I learned, this is what I'm not going to do moving forward. Because you're being very efficient and moving forward like this, you're not going to have a lot of patience for people who aren't. Try to have more. And whatever big financial decision you need to make, like I said, you work best when you're happy. Wherever you are the happiest will be the most successful place, even if it's starting out not the most successful option. That's how you need to look at things. Now, then all this confusion starts. Then everything moves into Cap Rising, your 12th house. Cap Sun, right behind you. Boom, boom, boom. Here comes the Sun. Here comes Mercury. Here comes Venus. And what do you want to do? You want to rest. You want to recover. You want to reset. You need to do these things before your season starts. So how do you truly rest? Wow, could it be more obvious than this? Get out of your head. Get out of your head. It doesn't matter who wronged you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Get out of your head. No, but I have really good reason for it. Of course you do. No, after everything I realized, it's just that I need to, of course. My resentments are valid. Of course they are. And you still need to leave them behind, and you still need to get out of your head, because if you don't realize it, that resentment is just another form of nostalgia. It's another way of hanging on to a past that doesn't exist. Sometimes the resentment is all we have left of an emotion that once used to be so important to us, a person, a connection. But the last thing to go, the last little remnant we have of them, of that, is the resentment of not having it anymore. It's still a way of holding on to something that you should be letting go. So how do you truly rest? You don't let your head take you to that very logical but absurd place. Excuse me. Of now you should be mad. Now you should be upset. Now you should be resentful. Now you should hold grudges. Now you should be looking at people different. Now you should be like, oh my God, you're like this, you're like this. When you could just quietly walk away. It doesn't need to be all this. You don't need to be combative. You don't need to tell anybody anything. You don't need to express, this is not for you. This is not what you want to do when everything is in Sagittarius. You need to rest. These kind of confrontations, whatever point you're trying to make, it's not rest. It's aggravation. So how do you truly rest? Don't get in your head. Get behind this duality. Get behind it. Behind the black and white, what is there? Just mind. You can rationalize this to yourself. Whatever you realize, see it in its most practical terms, rationalize it to yourself as something you learned from, and move forward. Now, how do you recover? You can use this energy of everything moving into Sagittarius to truly plumb the depths. What do you want? What does victory look like? What does companionship look like? What does love look like? What does hard work look like? What does isolation look like? What does sadness look like? What does conflict look like? What is the ultimate, culmination of your dreams look like? You have the option of retreating back into that cave, and recovery means going and using the best parts of this darkness to your advantage. This darkness of the 12th house is where everything is made. It's where everything is birthed. Everything is birthed first in the subconscious. It's the true birthplace. Right? So, if you feel like emotionally you are isolated by what you figure out at the beginning of the month with the eclipses, don't listen to anybody. And don't listen to yourself either. Don't let yourself talk you or beat you into some sort of conclusion that you're not good enough, or you can't do it, or you lack the skills, or you lack the value, or you lack the physicality, or you lack the education. Whatever you think you're lacking, it's not true. Anything is achievable if you just don't give up. Because if you don't give up, you technically can't fail. So, how do you recover? You make a detail-rich plan for what the next few years of your life look like. You work backwards from what you want to what you need to do now, much like what cancers do. You recover by accepting that you can't push forward right now and get to the top of the mountain, but planning brings another kind of joy, very similar. So you're satisfied. If you take this route of, instead of pushing against a gate that will not open, if you take the route of planning a way out and planning a way up, you can bypass the frustration of the season, which is really nice. Of course, love, there are miscommunications. Money, it can get a little bit confusing. Friendships, we already know, there's some debilitating truths coming out there. But after all that, when you're in the cave and you're resting and you're recovering and you're dreaming up your future, how do you press the button and reset when you made all the notes and have all the pieces and your intentions are in the right place? How do you jump into that person, into that thing? Well, I think the reset happens when this mindset, this goal is so integrated into the body, the physical body, that it becomes an unconscious truth. You start to unconsciously move, sit, speak, talk like the person that you will be, inshallah. When it becomes unconscious, when it becomes you, everything adjusts to fit the you that you are now. So the reset is about having all the details that you got in recovering. It's about having the energy to do the work at all because you were resting. And then you take that energy, you take those details, and you move and live like the person you are, the person you've seen, the person you know you will become. The reset is in fact so powerful that early in December, if you're able to manage it, you start to see a real upswing in a relationship that up until now has been very tumultuous. You making a certain amount of money definitely helps. Don't let this rock you. Don't let anything that happens with anyone in any dynamic shake you from this very obvious truth. You have figured this game out, and you're real good at it. You should be proud of that. You should enjoy that. Yes? Why, yes, it is the Matrix ashtray. How did you know? Love you. I'll see you in the mid-November readings on Patreon.